of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing today, D-Mac?
Good to be back in the saddle, B. It's been a rough week and a half for me and my family, guys. I lost my father last Thursday. We put him to rest on what's today? Friday? On Wednesday.
Friday.
On Wednesday, we put Pops to rest. Pops was a huge Sooner fan. If you guys have been on my Facebook, I've been posting pictures of me and my dad. He was at my graduation. He was at the Natty. He was at OU versus Notre Dame. He was at OU Colorado 1999. He was at OU Texas 2000 and 2001. And so just remembering Pops and his impact and significance over my life kind of makes you reflect, you know what I'm saying? And apologies, guys. Barry and I had a plan to have a bunch of alumni and greats and stuff on the show, but I just wasn't in any position to do any of that stuff. In fact, I'm not even in Dallas. I was going to be in Dallas for the festivities and do all that good stuff. I'm still in California with family. So all good though, guys. Pops lived a healthy life. He beat triple bypass. He beat prostate cancer. Pops had a stroke and lived 7 more years after the fact. And Barry, that's why I take my health so serious. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Pops, he lived a good life, eating a bunch of soul food for years. And I said, okay, let me eat my vegetables, drink my water, and run. So yeah, man, back in the saddle. Salute to you guys. I appreciate all the support that I received on Facebook and Instagram. Those of you that I didn't post anything on Twitter. And obviously we didn't shoot any episodes the last week and a half.
Yeah, then to the guys who asked, I had a bunch of people asking me about things. It just wasn't my place to go in and explain and talk about it. So I just wanted to let Damian come on here and obviously say what happened. Yeah, that's always kind of a fine line to walk, and that's not my news to give. And it's personal, right? So it's just stuff that sometimes you don't just want everybody knowing all your business right on the forefront. So hard transition. I've been praying for you all week, Damian, just for you and the family. And we're with you up here in Oklahoma, man. But the Sooners are going to make their way to Dallas. In fact, they are already there, right? Or is it late? No,
they're on the bus. They're on the bus. What time is it?
It's 12:11 up here Central Standard Time. So they're heading to Dallas. Got a big matchup with the Longhorns. This game has a lot going on it, man. Not unprecedented, as these are two teams. One program obviously much more superior than the other, but it's a game where Texas coming in here ranked high, number 1. They've had a great start to the season. However, as Gerald McCoy has said, I'm gonna quote him, the chin is about to be tested, right? He posted on Twitter the other day, and I thought that was great. Michigan has turned out not to be the the team that we thought they would be this year. Obviously the wins over the Stephen F's or whoever they played were okay, right? That they've had some nice wins, but it's about time to play a team that this is going to be the best defense by far they will have played all season, and that includes Michigan. Having watched both teams now, I've watched 3 full games of Michigan's. The Oklahoma has more talent on defense than Michigan does at this time, particularly at the defensive line spot. Maybe not at edge, but at defensive line in the interior for sure. Backer is better. I would argue secondary at some spots is better. So it's going to be interesting. But first SEC matchup between the two. I think there's going to be a little more pop to the game, right? A little more. It's going to feel like a big, NFL, early or late game. It's going to have that feel of a big time showdown. And not that it hasn't, D-Mac, but it's gonna smell like a top tier heavyweight college football matchup in the SEC. And before we get into the inside of the game and talk about the scheme and players that are going to be playing, some key injuries, guys that will be out, first, I just want your impression of this being an SEC matchup, man. The level of intensity and just the festivities and the build up to this thing, what it feels like. Would you yourself have liked to have played in this variation of the Red River rivalry?
You know what? With all due respect to the SEC, they should be happy to now possess the best rivalry in college football. In a couple of SEC Facebook groups, which I don't know how I found my way into those damn groups.
I found one too, man.
Bro, like what are we doing here? I get the whole hazing your first year in, but the fact of the matter is the best team in the conference per polls right now is the University of Texas, and then obviously OU's a one-loss team representing the SEC. The SEC gets to promote us, right? We aren't much different than the teams we were when we were in the Big 12. Just like A&M and Missouri came into the SEC and out the gate, they showed that they could compete. Here's what I'll say. When I played in this game, we were the best conference in America. The Big 12, and by the way, the Big 12 South was the best division in college football in America when I was in the Big 12, and then the Big 12 was the best conference. The SEC is unequivocally the best conference in America. And so to be in this game with this much opportunity and the magnitude of how marketing is marketed today, it's an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for the school. It's a huge opportunity for OU and Texas to put on a show and let the SEC know, that we are top tier year one. And I think that's an important message to make. Again, in these groups, you see the Kentuckys and the Ole Misses, and I guess now you could even add Vanderbilt, right? Go figure, right? The SEC talks all this smack about the top dogs. Like, bro, the Vanderbilt of the SEC beat the Bama after Bama beat Georgia. Where they do that at, right?
Hey, did you see the stat that in Saban's time he allowed Vanderbilt 13 total points in 5 matchups? That's insane. So carry on. I just thought that was a crazy stat.
I think that's ironic. Here's the deal. OU Texas don't need nobody to upstage this game. OU Texas is the best rivalry in college football. The Ohio State Michigan game rivals it, except the atmosphere is not the same. And it's a home and home versus in the middle of an equidistant destination where it's equally red and equally orange. That whole extra added element makes it more. And just aside from the last, what you'd say, 10 years, it wasn't even a big game nationally, right? It was a huge game regionally because the region hates each other. But OU Texas has been a huge game nationally since 2000. And so we're 25 years into a game where I believe this is the rivalry where the average rating of the teams is the highest, year in, year out. I mean, you're talking about perennial top 10 powers for a long time. You're talking about, the essential Big 12 champion, like 80% of the time, has been the winner of this game or one of the participants in the game. And so excited about it. You know what I'm saying? I have fond memories of OU Texas, obviously 63-14, 14-7. I think my last year it was like 47-24, something like that. 99. We jumped on them early. They took our momentum. We had to learn how to win. But the second Saturday in October will always be special to me. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those times it's our homecoming for us. We all meet in Dallas. We used to party our tails off. Now we kind of just lounge and cook and have a good time in our 40s. But I'm just looking forward to the game. There are a lot of things that people aren't openly discussing that are going to work to our advantage. And I've said all season, defense travel, special teams travel. I think those are two areas where we do have some marketed opportunities to really muzzle this game up and make it one that we can have a lot of success. And then obviously we'll dive into the nuances and X's and O's a little more. But I said it last week or whatever. I said it a week or two ago. But here's the facts. The facts is Texas has no idea what we're going to run. There's no film for them to study. So we have their element of surprise to our advantage. And we have a quarterback that we know is a gamer, right? They
Mhm.
watch the last, six quarters of film and see a kid out there who is not going. The moment's not going to be too big for him. And a lot of the national pundits are talking, "Oh, OU's breaking in." No, Oklahoma was breaking in the rookie quarterback the first 3 weeks of the season, and the moment was too big for him. The last 6 quarters of the last 2 games, we've had a kid who looks to be mature, makes really good decisions, takes care of the football, and obviously he can beat you with his arm, his legs, or his brain. And so, looking forward to the opportunity we have. I like it when we're the underdog. I
Yep.
like it when we're the underdog and
15, right? Still, is it still 15?
14 and a half. I like it
14
when
and a
we're
half.
the underdog, but also have a defense.
Mhm.
That's really the recipe for us to have some success. So let's get it.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
get it.
let's talk about it, man. And before we dive into the nuts and bolts, man, want to remind everybody go over to ouinsider.com, grab yourself a membership, and right after the show, me and Damian have launched on YouTube under the Barry and Mack Show banner our members only section. So last time, D-Mac, little inside baseball for you guys, we got in some trouble putting the film on the thing over there on OU Insider. It wasn't bad. Brandon and Parker, they're awesome, but it killed the monetization on the video. Just full transparency. So we can't do that due to copyright. However, we can do that on the members only section, and we're going to be over there breaking down some film. So if you guys want to join, I will try to throw, or if somebody wants to throw the link down in the comments to go sign up, guys. Only $2.99. Try to make it as cheap as we could. Just want the community to be able to get all the football knowledge, the strength stuff. We're going to do a little more kind of in the weeds stuff over on that side, but ain't going to change right here, DMAC. I want to start, and we're going to go offense, defense, defense, offense in terms of matchups. And then I want to get your thoughts on who has the specials advantage in this one. But Texas has been the team offensively that you would say it looks superior right now to Oklahoma. I don't think that's any doubt on anyone's mind. Texas's defense has looked good at times, although just like the Sooners, they've shown some susceptibility to some of the deep throws. Michigan found a couple chinks in the armor at various times during the game, and talent on their side was able to make a few plays here and there. But I would say, as it looks right now from a talent perspective at really all three levels, I don't see a spot where OU has a disadvantage at all. But also, when comparing Texas's defense to OU's defense, um, but I do think OU has a distinct advantage when it comes to the interior of that defensive line. When it comes to who's going to be playing linebacker, particularly when dealing with Texas's run game, I think this is another game where Kobe McKenzie probably does get a few more snaps if Texas tries to get downhill on Oklahoma, which I think they will try to test that. To me, it comes down to how does the secondary perform, and Texas has some guys at receiver. Arch Manning does not seem like he'll be the guy in this game. He started out well. You got to give the young athlete his due. He's had a good start to his career at Texas, but Quinn Ewers will get the starting nod. I want to just dive into how you see this matchup going with Texas. You got I want to say Meacham, you got Isaiah Bond, you got some good talent at receiver, and Ewers has shown the ability to hit some throws. Although I think Arch may have him in some capacities on some various passes, and we'll get into that later. But Ewers can complete some balls down the field. How do you think this Sooner defense measures up, D-Mac? You know Venables has been licking his chops on this one. He's got something up his sleeve. Him and Coach Alley have been obviously working on this thing for a minute now. How do you see this thing playing out, and where do you think OU can make some hay on the defensive side?
So offensively, by the way, my goddaughter's brother plays for Texas, DeAndre Moore.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was committed to OU for a
Mm-hmm.
period of time.
Remember that, yeah.
He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. He's averaging like 25 yards a catch. He's actually playing well for them. We're going to see if we can get him over to the other side next year. But anyway, I look at this matchup, and this is probably one of the keys to the game. It's the defensive line versus offensive line in conjunction with the DBs versus their receivers. Two things really, really matter in this game. I like to say front five, if you really look at our defense, we run a lot of 40 front, but we also run a lot of 22, which are two down, two up, right? We got like 2-3 techs. They're in like a 2-eye or a 0-3 sometimes. And then we've got two outside defenders in the 2-point. And that's when you'll see a lot of 32 standing up. And then obviously you'll see forward standing up, I guess 30 and 32. We run that a lot. And then we'll run a lot of 30, 32 as well. We'll have three down, a 0 and 2 5s, and then we'll have two outside receivers. I believe it's very important that we stay in that three down. By the way, did you see that Arkansas said they used our defensive front to help slow down Tennessee? They said they literally duplicated what we did. That's probably our strongest front because we like to have Stutz and Kip and or McKenzie, right? Obviously, McCullough will be a guy who I will speak to in a little bit more detail here in a second. But that front four or front five is going to be critical to the game. What I feel really good about is their ability to manage the run with Jackson and Dominic in there, really, and Terry holding down that center guard gap. It gives us an opportunity to keep our backers clean. And you guys know, anytime you give Stutz the ability to run sideline to sideline, and even Kip is a freaking speed demon, those two are going to clean stuff up in the run game. Because if Texas is two-dimensional, we don't have a chance. I don't like to say that. It's going to be a tough day.
It'll be hard.
It's going to be a hard day. If Texas is two-dimensional, if we put Texas in down and distance where we know they are going to throw the ball, we can control the game defensively. Now, I do want to give Sark his flowers, and I'm a hater. I just see I got my burnt orange OU hat on today. I thought when I saw that, I said I got to get that. In fact, I wore this last year, and we beat Texas. If you remember, I wore this hat for Texas week, so I put it on again. But if the thing that I got to give Sark his flowers on is Sark is really good at window dressing you one way and having something building up on the other direction. He's got orbit motion happening, and it looks like they're running a screen over there. The quarterback's looking down the field, but the screen's going over there. He's got a sweep happening, but then there's something backside happening, and they're throwing. I mean, Sark's really good at queuing that stuff up, and so I think his pivot to what we're going to be to do is going to give us a lot of misdirection. And if you go watch the last 2 years, guys, first quarter, a ton of misdirection. If you go back and watch Q1, the last two OU Texas games, you'll see it. And I believe he's going to cue that up again this year. Now, that lends to our DBs. If we play with off and soft consistently, they're going to cook us.
Yeah.
They've got guys who can run. Their guys run the full route tree. They run a lot of over routes, which get behind the backers, and you're running in space against a matchup 3. It's really hard to stay in coverage in. I look forward to us playing, if not bump, close to the line of scrimmage. All right. And so it'll be interesting to see how they deploy that. It'll be interesting to see who's starting, who's the subs. Right? Are we going to see a lot more Eli? Eli plays a lot more in your face, man, even as a younger pup. Malone is really good about staying pretty close to the line of scrimmage. Kanai is a guy who's played a lot more off. I want to see him play in the people's face.
Which I want to talk about Eli in a second. We'll talk about him.
His name's been coming up a bunch. I kind of disconnected for a while, obviously dealing with what I was dealing with, but just kind of getting more into it. He's a name that I've seen come up quite a bit the last 4 or 5 days. Here's the deal. If we get pressure on yours, it's a toss-up. If we don't get pressure on yours, it's a game that we're having an upfield battle constantly, and it's a game that's going to be difficult for us to win.
Yeah, man, to talk about Eli just for a second, I actually think he gets a lot of run in this game. I agree with you. OU's best chance is going to have to be playing physical, right? You think about the defenses that held Lincoln Riley's offenses in check and the teams that have had success against Sark. It comes down to knocking them off their timing. Ewers is a really good quarterback when he is in rhythm. You make him play out of rhythm. You make him play off schedule. He makes mistakes, right? You go back to just last year's Red River shootout early on. I believe they had a good first play, but then there was pressure in his face. I believe they got into a 2nd and long, and then throws the pick. Now, if you give Ewers plenty of time back there, if you allow him to do his little shuffle, little side to side, just kind of play his game, if you will, almost a little Jalen Hurts like, in a sense of, if Jalen at the college level was in a rhythm, if he had the timing was solid, then he was going to cook you. However, if you made things difficult from a timing standpoint, you made him have to adjust on the fly, he was more prone to make that mistake in the passing game. Ewers to me is that, and a guy like Eli Bowen, I don't know if I've seen a corner at Oklahoma, D-Mac, be able to get physical at the line of scrimmage, get knocked off, be able to regain his center of mass, and then stay on the hip of that receiver, whichever way they go. I am incredibly surprised by his agility, his ability to go right, his ability to go left. We've talked about other corners on the team not being able to flip the hips. Eli, completely opposite. You're not going to beat him a ton going inside, going outside. To me, he's a guy who maybe even more than Malone might get some run in this game. I think Kanai, just off sheer size, the girth that he provides, he might get burnt once or twice, but I think more often than not, he's going to be there exactly where you need him. I think it's important that Peyton Bowen play big in this game. It's important that Billy play sound. I want to ask you, do you see this being a game where they tell Billy to go play a little more just kind of deep safety and just scan the field, or do you see him possibly being a little more in the box in this one? Or do you see Venables? I'll save that question. Let's talk about specifically secondary. How do you see OU playing that in this one?
I hope, and based upon just things I was hearing again, RSJ has kind of solidified himself as the whole safety. By the way, he's graded out top safety at OU. He's one of the top safeties in America per his grade, which doesn't surprise me, doesn't surprise us. I think, not to toot ourselves, but I think we were really touting him
100%.
very early before a lot of the, pundits were, and a lot of people who are now saying how good he's playing. But I hope that they let RSJ float around the second level and be a robber, carry guys, be there to tackle in the alley and in the C gap. And I hope they put Billy in a position where, because I believe we have to play a ton of single high. I don't think we're going to be able to be in a 42. We're going to do some 42, actually, 4 down, 2 backers, and then a nickel. But I do believe in order to get the pressure we're going to need to get, and in order to put our DBs in a position where they can be successful, DBs being our cornerbacks, I don't know that we can play often soft and hope that we're just going to consistently get pressure. I know you use the Hurts comparison. Do you know who Ewers kind of reminds me of? And his trajectory is very similar as well. If you remember Trevor Lawrence as 2-year starter, he was a good pocket guy. He had good zip on the ball. He had good size and presence. He wasn't a terrible athlete. But do you remember his last year and a half? He became a runner. I think he even had like a 70-yard touchdown in either a championship game or a playoff game. I mean, he became a guy where he could beat you with his feet. And Ewers is a guy where if you give him a lane, he'll go take it 20, 30, 40 yards for 100%. A touchdown.
Yeah.
And so he gives me Trevor Lawrence vibes, but he has a little bit of the space cadet in him.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Landry Jones in there.
He's got a little of Landry going on in there. And so
no hate, Landry.
When those bullets are flying, hey, Landry is who he is. When Landry says, hold my beer while I go throw for 11,000 yards over the course of my career. You know what I'm saying? Landry doesn't have to take a backseat to nobody. But when those bullets start flying, Ewers is a guy who's going to throw it to you. And we've got to be there to make the plays when those plays are available to us. We've got to make sure we consistently mix things up, because if he gets a beat on what coverage we're going to be in, if he can see we're clearly in 2-man, or really not 2-man, but 2-zone, if he can see that we're clearly in a cover 3 or a matchup off and soft matchup zone, I'm just telling you, he's going to cook you, because they're going to run those over routes. They're going to run those crossing routes. They're going to mesh you. They're going to quick screen. They're going to run motion one way and quick screen you the other way. And they're going to have you guessing. And then boom, they're going to be right out the A gap with that inside zone or that trap zone that they run. And so it's so important to not give him rhythm. If Ewers gets in rhythm, we're going to be in trouble. If we disrupt that rhythm, he's going to throw the ball to us. And our DBs, it's mainly the safeties. They have got to be in position to make the play. He's going to overthrow an in cut. He's going to get pressure and underthrow a bomb. He's going to have to move him off the spot and try to force something in. One of those safeties, RSJ, or it's going to be Billy. And here's the deal. This is the other thing I was hearing, and I'll be watching for it on Saturday. Don't be surprised if you see Peyton play some small cheetah. Don't be surprised if you see it. And so
And that's the move with Dolby obviously
that's
being
the
out
move
for the
with
year.
Dolby being out for the year, and Dason being more of a backer than a cheetah now, and Sammy O essentially taking on the responsibility of the bigger cheetah and playing fairly well. Do not be surprised to see Peyton play more in a role of a small cheetah, and then see Dason play a true backer or play that stand up in the 42 front where we have 2 down and 2 stand ups. Don't be surprised if you see Dason there.
Before we move on from the defense, D-Mac, and maybe this goes into some of the wrinkles. So far we've seen OU move Trace Ford around a bunch, right? 30 has been killed. We've had a lot of people in the comments say, stop using numbers, use names. That's a hard habit to get out of.
10 years, bro. 10 years. I've been
Yeah.
doing it for 10 years.
It's wonderful. It's a mix, right? Obviously anybody who's ever played sports or played football, actually in the game, right? When a coach starts calling you by your name instead of a number, that obviously means a little bit. And some guys, we mix it up a little. Depends on also what we're saying sometimes. It's just more out of respect, if you will. But they've thrown in some wrinkles, right? You've seen some things with RMT, even kind of off the line of scrimmage a little bit, that they've stood him up. They've stood other guys up. Trace Ford has actually had quite a bit of stand up. I've even seen a couple snaps where Caden Woolard is standing up. In this game, OU, when they have won, they have dominated the defensive line. They have played really well on the defensive front. They've been able to get pressure both interior and on the edge. In this one, we got to believe RMT. He's now proved it 2-3 games this season that he's a guy who can close the deal. He's a guy who can go make a play. He's finally finishing, which credit to Miguel Chavis and the staff and Bates there, just getting him ready and getting him to that next click of how to be an elite pass rusher. But in this one, D-Mac, what do you see OU throwing in terms of wrinkles? And they're going to need another guy, right? Texas is good at the tackle position. They are very solid. It's big humans who can move their feet with a lot of length. Talk about what OU is going to need to do, maybe some wrinkles there. Are there any kind of stunts, anything that they could leverage against a team like Texas, who blocks the way they do? There's some stuff that's very Lincoln Riley-esque, again, as we kind of talk about it. And then who do you think is going to be that second and third guy? Because I don't think it's going to be one. I don't even think it's going to be two. I think you're going to need 3 to 4 players play their tails off if you're going to stop the run and get to Ewers and or Arch Manning, depending on how they divvy that up, or if Ewers gets injured. Well, whatever may happen. How do you see that playing out, and who do you think those guys are going to be?
The number one thing I'm going to be watching for on Saturday is how many times we line up base front pre-snap and then either show it or right at the snap of the ball blitz his throwing shoulder. Ewers is a guy, if you make him roll opposite his throwing shoulder, he's substantially worse than if he breaks the pocket rolling to his, which, by the way, that's most quarterbacks. But if I went back and watched some of our film, we have not overloaded the play side shoulder of a quarterback much, if not at all, this year. Go back and watch Texas last year. We blitzed the hell out of his throwing shoulder. In fact, I assume they are going to assume we're going to do that because we did it a ton last year. And so I watched that and I said, I think BV's holding back because we have not done a ton of overloads to the play side a ton the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I think that's something we'll do. I believe we're going to go in the 2 down, 2 up, 42 front where we've got 4 down, but 2 of them are, it's either Ford or it's Dason or it's RMT. Those guys, or sometimes it's like you said, 40 or 90. Those guys are in a 2-point and they have eyes up. It's easier for them to hold the edge. It's easier for them to feel boot the other way or action the other way or motion coming your way when your eyes are up and you're a 2-point. It'll help us with their quick game. It'll help us with their screen game. It'll help us all of those things. Guys who have eyes up can see more and still be deadly coming off that edge. I think the trio of 30, 32, and 1. I guess let me say the names right. Trace Ford, RMT,
Yeah.
and Dasan. I think Dasan is going to show Texas and the casual football or SEC fan a different caliber of player that they haven't seen on our team. Dasan is more explosive than RMT going forward. He's not as big a man. He's not going to manhandle a tackle. He's not going to out physical a tackle like RMT, who's 247, 252 can now because he's got more grown man strength, but he's going to beat your ass with speed. He's going to out athlete you. He's going to be able to cut across your face more so like a backer than a defensive end, but he's got more girth to him. And really what it is more length. He's got longer limbs that will give him the ability to neutralize some of that strength if he can just beat hands. If he can beat hands, he's going to be a big problem for Texas. And so I look forward to seeing what he brings to the table. Obviously, God willing, he's 100% healthy. And again, when you've got RMT coming, and then you've got Ford coming, and then you've got Dasan coming, and you've got the consistency, the physicality, and the experience of someone like a Downs, who, by the way, shows up in OU Texas games. He showed up 2 years ago. He was
every
one of the only
freaking
guys.
year.
Yeah,
every
he
year.
showed up. The 49-0 game, he showed up. So from that front, I think they're the key to the entire game. Our front 6 or 7 and our ability for our cheetah to be, is it going to be Samuel on rundowns, and is it going to be Peyton, or is it going to be Woody or one of those other guys on passing downs? It'll be interesting. Well, actually, Woody got cooked so much last week. He better be a solid 2. Now that I think about it, he better be solid depth after thinking about how quick he was benched in the Auburn game, and then kind of just chilling on the sideline. So that front, though, I can't belabor enough of how important it's going to be for that crew. And here's the best thing about it, right? We talked about it in August. We've seen it through the first couple of weeks of the season, and then definitely against the better competition. When you talk about the Auburn game, you talk about the Tennessee game, you say, hey, what position groups for OU still stood the task and still were able to bring it? It was our defensive front 7.
Facts.
There isn't a game this entire season when those guys have been outperformed or out-athleted. And so I look forward to seeing those guys carry that same type of mantle as it relates to them versus the Texas front.
Man, I agree. I will say, man, one of the things that when Dasan got to Oklahoma, I was a little skeptical of foot speed. And we talked about that back in those shows then. And then when he was in drills and running practice, the way his foot hit the ground, I was like, man, I don't know if he's got the juice to play in space. There's a certain way that guys, when they're really explosive and move really well, especially out in the open field, that their foot just hits the ground. You've probably seen it at receiver, right? There's some guys who it feels like that footage, as soon as it hits, it's up. Deion Burks is a great example. You can tell why he is so good, because when he's running drills, it's like, man, is he even hitting the grass? Right? That's what it looks like. And Dasan was a little heavy footed, had that a little bit of that heel drop. He really kind of smacked the ground this past season in the drills that I have seen. He's obviously been on the hurdles and doing the wickets,
the ladders,
and
doing the ladders, and the whole deal.
Because, man, his feet look night and day from the first drill I saw him run that they showed on one of the sites. It likely was OU Insider. They always get great practice footage. Shout out to OU Insider, ouinsider.com. Go grab a membership. See what I did there. But his feet look phenomenal. And I think, although it probably doesn't bode as well in space, it's going to help being able to get out into the flats. It's going to help, somebody maybe not cross space if he's got to take someone, close to the line of scrimmage. But going forward, it is going to make a massive difference in his ability to have a huge advantage. Exploding past the tackle, tight end, got no chance, right? Unless you're just super long with some weight behind you, you got no shot. I think Dasan has too much length, too much speed, and now a little bit of that girth and size that he's put on, he just looks like a different player. He's developing more into that mode of what he would be at the NFL level, in my opinion. It's Oklahoma taking him and saying, what would you look like at that next rung? Here's what we're going to make you. And speaking of guys taking that next step, we're going to move over to the offensive side of the ball. We saved probably the most intriguing discussion for last. Texas's defense, and I want to read out some stats here. D-Mac, Texas's defense has not been bad this year. However, the offenses they've played, Michigan, when they went into that game, that was obviously touted as it's an elite matchup, right? You're going to Ann Arbor, you're playing the defending national
It's how
champ.
Texas got their ranking. It's the only team they played this year. It's the only team they played.
It is the only team that they've played. There's been some talk of Texas's defense being historic, and like that's mostly on the Texas sites, right? But Louisiana Monroe, Michigan, and who'd they play this? They had the bye. Who'd they play the week? Mississippi State.
21-13 in the third quarter.
Their offense has not been good. But when it comes to the run game, Michigan was able to find some seams at times, and even Mississippi State was able to find some creases. I want to dive into where you think OU can sort of lay the foundation of what they're going to do offensively in this one, right? What I mean by that is it feels like they finally got a little bit of an identity with Hawkins. It feels like they've got a guy who can get yards on the ground when teams know that he's going to try and get yards on the ground. Looking at the comments there, that's hilarious. I want to ask how do you think OU is going to leverage him in the run game, and do you think this is going to be a deal where they put a tremendous amount of emphasis on him carrying the ball early to try and get Texas on their heels in terms of forcing Texas to make a decision of how they want to defend Oklahoma?
You know what? I don't. This is what I believe, and I don't know anything. I have not talked to anybody in 2 weeks, and I've gotten a bunch of texts like, "Hey, Mac, have you heard anything?" I actually haven't. I haven't tried to reach out to people, but here's what I think, because I think this is the smartest thing for us to deploy. I believe early we're going to try to run some quick game. We're going to try to run some misdirection. I think you're going to see. I hope we see some running back screens, which I don't think we've run since Levy's been here, for that matter. But I believe we're going to try to run some quick game stuff to get Texas in rhythm, because if we show Texas we can pass, it's going to open up natural running lanes for Hawk to run. If we come out in this game and deploy a QB run game out the back and it doesn't work for whatever reason, right now we're shooting from the hip trying to figure out what to do. If we come out and can show that we can run quick game and we can attack them on the edges in the run game, right, which are areas that are, again, there's the whole conversation that we could go into depth and detail about as it relates to Seth, right? The OC. Why haven't we run a lot of outside opportunity, runs? Why haven't we run a lot of things on the edges? And I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is overloading aside and running to that, or overloading aside and running away from that, depending on if Texas goes into an over or stays in an under or stays true, is an easy thing to dictate, see, know, understand pre-snap. And it gives us numbers. It gives us numbers because of the threat of our quarterback to pull it and run, right? Backside in has to stay home. So that creates a natural cutback lane if we can get everybody to flow too fast, right? Play side, we run that speed option. In shows, the edge defender has essentially declared themselves. We should be able to get on the edge, right? So we run that bunch formation. We run a pin and pull. That uncovered play side guy pulls the two receivers or the tight end pin that inside edge defender, right? Those are some easy things we can deploy and run action off of that can get us on the edge. Barry, I firmly believe this. I think we come out in some quick game stuff. I think we come out with a lot of under routes, a lot of mesh concepts, hitch and slant concepts, and run maybe like a hitch and go or curl and go, an easy play design for the line to block, for the running backs to determine who they have to pick up if they need to, right? And then it's a 2v2, our guys against their guys first. If we can do that, then I believe we're going to put pressure on them when the game loosens up. If we play this game in a phone booth and we try to run QB run and they sneak a safety down to 8 and they're running a 40 front with 3 second level defenders and a safety coming down and they've got every gap filled up. Number one, it's going to kill our run game because we don't have the greatest vision and or talent at running back, at least not now. Let's see what Tatum can do. But number two, it's going to put a ton of pressure on the Q. It's going to put a ton of pressure on the Q. And now you got ball handling. Now you've got risk of injury. Now you got wear and tear, right? And then every ball that comes out after that is going to be high anxiety. The receivers are going to be, let's make Texas play a big zone. Let's beat them and soften them up a little bit early in the game. Let's get my man Blake Davis to relax. Relax, my man. Michigan was like a month ago, bro. We're in October. Yeah. Relax, dog. You got us on the calendar. Worry about us. You don't need to tell us how many first rounders they got. They do. They got probably the best corner in America. I'll give you that. They got one of the best 3 techniques in America. I'll give you that. But y'all don't got them on the schedule. Y'all got us on the schedule. You know what I'm saying? And so relax, my man. It's okay. It's going to be cool, right? We'll holler back and come holler at us after the game on Sunday and chalk it up to that. But no, looking at the scheme, I hope we don't come out QB run right off the back. I really don't. I just, even if it works, it puts a ton of pressure on the quarterback to be not only the point guard of the game, but like the focal point. And I don't know that. I mean, shit, the kid's nuts. So I don't know that, you know what I'm saying? He's got the gorilla nuts you need, but I would.
He's all gorilla nuts, man. He is about it.
Blake, let's be friends, bro. He said I'm not a bad. Me neither, bro.
Shout out, Blake. You good? Appreciate it. That's great, man.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah. I'm the guy. I'm gonna match your energy. I really think we starting a quick game. See, here's the thing. You run all hitches.
Yeah.
Petaway catches it. He gets, like for instance, Thompson caught the first quick screen, play one of the game. Right? People trip this, right? So watch, play 1, we run quick screen, we get a first. Play 2, we run pin and pull. We run that toss to the boundary. We got the bunch formation. We pin with the receivers. We pull the uncovered play side guy. Gosh, Barnes, there's so much meat left on the bone, but whatever. We get what we get. Auburn says, oh shit, this quarterback can throw the ball and they have the ability to hit us on the edges. That's why, go back and watch the play. And I know we said this and everybody else probably has too. That 47 or 57 yard scamper that Hawkins has is a pass. It is not a QB run. We're running some under routes, and that's why their second level defenders are running with crossers, which is why he's able to split everybody. They had to account for the ability of us to pass first. Their pivot or their changeup was to say, we're going to spy you with 2 backers, and the backers just looked up crossers. Don't run with them. Just look them up and then pass them, which was smart because we never made an adjustment after that. But no, I want to be listen, this for everybody. Hawkins can throw. I would even, based upon what I've heard and seen, he can throw as well as Jackson Arnold, right? He just happens to be a kid who can also run really well. We need him to be a quarterback, not a running quarterback. We need him to play quarterback who can also run. If he does that, they are in trouble. Here's the last part, Barry. If he does that, we have the best quarterback in the game. And here's the thing. Here's the thing people don't want to admit. This is why I get fired up. Because damn it, I played and I know what it feels like with Roy Williams and Sloan and all these top receivers in America on the other side. See us when we got the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like you might have Roy Williams and Sloan Thomas and BJ Johnson, whatever the hell their names were. And they were on the number 1, number 2. Yeah, bro, we'll see us the second Saturday in October. In that game, Ewers is an NFL dude and Peyton Manning's kid or nephew or whoever the hell the kid is, but I don't, whatever. If our quarterback can complete simple passes, we have the best player on the field. And Texas knows it. So it's really important we establish that.
Yeah, I think the offensive line, as they've brought up in the comments, is going to be a huge factor in this one. It's looked better the past couple weeks, right? You're starting to get guys back. You're
I'm like, don't mind me. Jacob said, I'm jealous.
that's
Like,
hilarious.
God, Jacob, this for you, my G. That's for you, bro. My bad. I'm doing I love it. I
That's
freaking love it.
beautiful. The offensive line has played better. I know Gabe and Teddy have actually echoed this on their podcast. Technically, things are looking better. It's not that so much the individual side, but just the continuity of communicating, being in the right place, getting in front of your guy. And that's why there was some more hay made in the run game, especially late when OU figured some things out. And I think, man, some of it is just Hawkins getting some confidence, right? He once he hit that ball to Hester, it's
Mhm.
almost as if he turned into a new guy, right? And so much of it is in basketball, you'd say seeing the ball go through the net, right? Once you take the lid off that thing and you know that you can play a good SEC team and get a long bomb, get your team back into the thick of it, and now you're really playing quarterback.
Can I
I
ask you? Can I
Go
interject real
ahead.
quick? I just want because I hear you and you're right, but like, are people blind or are people just biased? How many awesome throws have we seen Jackson make this year? You know, his best throw of the year to me was the one to Farouk. Beautiful throw. Beautiful throw. Week one,
Oh, the first
Temple.
it was might have been
Oh,
his first
bro.
throw of the year, I think. That was
One
his
of
first
it, one
pass of the year.
that that's an NFL throw, right? He's got some great throws to Bauer and Burke week one, week two. But listen, are we blind or did Hawkins throw beautiful throws against Tennessee?
Oh,
I'm thinking about the corner route to Raggins on
that
the
was
sideline.
that's best throw of the year,
I'm thinking about
period.
the bang eight to Petaway on the RPO. He pulls the ball back out and throws the bang eight to Petaway. I'm thinking about the scramble and throw the ball to Hester on the sideline for a
Yeah,
15-yard. I mean, it's on a rope. I'm not even talking about the bomb. Then of course you have the bomb. Like, how many awesome throws has Jackson had,
yeah,
and how many awesome throws has Hawkins had in 6 quarters of football, right? And I think everybody just,
great point.
yes, Hawkins can run. You mother suckers, you better believe he can run. That's why I'm excited about our chances, because he gives us an element where Jackson is a threat, but Hawkins might be the best runner on the field when he runs with the football, and he also is a quarterback first. And so, I'm hearing you. I don't think we should limit, right, Hawkins' ability, or I don't think we should apologize for his ability to run just
Yeah,
because he just happens to be an exceptional runner. Gosh dang it, he's actually probably the better thrower.
yeah.
Based upon what we saw in 3.5 games with Jackson and 1.5 games with Hawkins, my eyes say Hawkins is also the better thrower. We can't limit that. We can't discount that.
And I'll say this too with Hawkins. I think part of what contributes to that is he's so much better at figuring out where he is with his eyes when he's coming off of something else. When he comes off of a receiver or he's faking the give and he's bringing his eyes up. Ideally, you shouldn't have those eyes coming down. But when the throw to Petaway is a fantastic example of Jackson was a beat late on those, which is why guys did not have the ability to run with the ball. You got to think about how fast those receivers are moving. The science aspect of it dictates that the moment that you know that that receiver is coming open, you have to be able to get the ball up, identify where the ball needs to go, and get it there. If you're a beat late, you're throwing to where the receiver was, not where the receiver is going to be. And you've got to have quick eyes if you want to do that. I think that's also why Hawkins he feels to me better with going through the progressions. I think he just does it a little faster. And obviously, as he gets more ingrained into the offense, you'll see more of that general just pocket passing type element. But I think he's better with his eyes. He's better at quickly seeing where the ball needs to go. And Jackson, we know he had tunnel vision with a lot of plays and a lot of the same stuff where he doesn't see the underneath defender or he doesn't see the high safety who's coming over the top And Hawkins does a much better job of feeling those things. And how important was it just avoiding the turnovers, right? Against Auburn, the main thing OU needed to do was not give Auburn back the ball. If they give Auburn the ball one time, they lose the game, right? That game came down to every possession was critical, especially in the second half. And Hawkins did a wonderful job of not letting that happen. And the reason why you're seeing guys like Petaway being able to catch and do something with it, Reagan's being able to catch and do something with it, even a guy like Hester, who we've said he hadn't been able to catch a ball all year. Is it just a case of, and yes, we've seen him in previous years, but is it just a case of Hawkins is throwing a little bit better ball? It's a little bit easier to get your hands on and catch. And when it comes to the timing of where the guys are, and this will lead me into the receiver discussion, I just think there's some serious value in the ability to get your eyes where they need to be and then still having the arm strength to get there. As it relates to receiver, OU has confirmed that Deion Burks is not playing, and that's a huge hit, right? I think anybody who says otherwise, you'd rather have Deion Burks out there than not. He's OU's best receiver on the football team as they have played the games this year. However, Andrell Anthony, according to Venables, seems to be moving pretty good. He the story is he had a procedure and that's why he had been out. He had a procedure to address some of the issues that he was having that were keeping him off the field, which if you're over on OU Insider, I did make a post regarding what I thought Andrell's issues might have been just based on what I've known about coming back, prepare to play on an ACL, like what that looks like and some of the hiccups and shortcomings you can have if things don't go perfectly. And I think one of those factors reared its ugly head. I won't get too into the weeds, but one of those factors reared its ugly head and he had to just get it addressed. He was playing through too much pain. It wasn't that he's lost a step. It wasn't that he's not the same athlete. When you have pain in a joint and you can't fully express force through that limb, you're going to have a really hard time playing Division I college football. And I think that's just what he was running into. Deion Burks is out. Jalil Farouk still out. Jacoby Johnson, he's moved to receiver, but I still don't think he gets a whole lot of run, especially you mentioned last week. Still got guys like Carry-On, still got guys like Reagan's who have been in the receiver room all year, who are probably going to be ahead of him. I think Jacoby just gives them depth and maybe a piece if they run some kind of special wrinkle or want to do something in the red zone. What do the receivers need to do in this one, D-Mac, where I do think they could have some success? But what do they need to do? What kind of mentality do they need to go in there with? And what does Emmett Jones need to prepare these guys with to go in and win this game? And I asked that by asking, it's kind of similar to you guys in 99, 2000, right? Where you don't have a runaway Bolitnikov guy, but you do have a lot of really solid players. The talent level on that 2000 team was better than what they've got now. I mean, we'll just say that at the receiver spot.
I wasn't gonna hold you.
But what I mean is just the as a group, we've got to go in and do what needs to be done to win the game, right? Blocking, route running, making sure you're catching and finishing the play, doing something after that. What kind of mentality and what kind of strategy is deployed to get a receiver group that has not played, up to the Oklahoma standard this year? What has to happen to make that take place in a game like this?
It's interesting you asked that, B. Again, I'm going to kind of move the goalpost a little bit here. I really hope. So we had a bye week. I really hope last Monday, not 5 days ago, but 12 days ago, Seth came in and got those guys fired up about a game plan. By the way, they've watched Texas film for 4 or 5 weeks now. I mean, they watched some during fall camp. I really hope, and this is the only experience I have, B, is telling you how we did it. And when we did it, we managed to kick their ass quite often. And receivers always have big games. Confidence in the plan, right? Texas is going to play a lot of off Texas is going to play a lot of two, mix it up to a match. By the way, they play a lot of stuff similar to ours. What we play on defense, Texas runs a rendition of a lot of what we run, especially in the secondary on the third level. Seth has to devise a plan to get the guys confident about receiving the football. All right. The beauty about having Leach as my OC in 99, and then of course we kind of evolved it, if you will, in 2000. Mangino came in and added some power principles to that, but we knew we had schemed up plays that we were going to be open with the football. So all we had to do was catch the damn ball. And so if I practiced catching the damn ball and I had a good week of practice and the ball didn't touch the grass, I didn't give a damn if it was Texas. I didn't give a damn if it was K-State. I didn't give a damn if it was Nebraska. I didn't give a damn if it was Florida State. I didn't care because I knew we had a scheme that would get me the ball in a position to do something with it. And so the receiver mentality, they're puppies, man. These guys are second teamers. Like our top 5 dudes are hurt, period. That would be like me, Kurt, Sav, Norman, and Woolfolk all being out. Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
think
big.
about that.
That's big.
What
That's
happens if Antoine Savage, Curtis Fagan, Damian Mackey, Josh Norman, and Andre Woolfolk are out? That means Mark Clayton, Willie Peoples, Jerron Rankins, Julius McMillan, those guys got to step up. Well, how much can you ask of those new guys to like figure it out? Or how much confidence could you give them a week and a half prior to the game and saying, look, J-Mac, right, Jim Julius, you're a guy who can beat people with speed. We're going to run this curl arrow concept 3 times. But when we go curl arrow and up, right, it's an out and up concept, you're going to score. Right. And so the game plan has a plan, right? It's not just game plan by name. It's a game plan by nature. And so what I hope happened is 12 days ago, Seth said, okay, guys, this is the concept. If we're just going to run our double slant, our double hitch, you know what I'm saying? The same shit we've run and these guys, the practice is monotonous. I don't have a lot of faith that new guys, freshmen, and second teamers are going to just all of a sudden be magical. Can this game, create magic? Yes. I see some of these Texas guys in the comments. Guys, hoping. Yeah, we don't need hope, guys. Just FYI, we ain't hoping. Are you serious? You think we have to hope, bro? Like I ain't playing on Saturday. You ain't playing on Saturday. You hope your team comes to the table. The pressure's on you guys. It's not on us. If we kick y'all asses, by the way, I won't even be surprised. You'll be surprised if you win. Let's be honest. You will be because you don't know what it feels like to beat us very often. Like in any of the lifetimes of anyone who's watching this show, no one who's listening or participating, none of you have ever felt what it feels like to win this game the majority of any decade of any of our lives. So I get it. It's cute. You know what I'm saying? It really is. But like, we're not playing in the game. And for these puppies that are going to be playing in the game, these receivers who are going to be asked to step up, I don't think Thursday's practice, they're going to put in some new great play that's going to be the reason we scheme up a ton of success. Hey, there might be a play that we put in on, yesterday that can score us a touchdown or can pick up us a third down, right? We saw something on film late and we want to add this to the game plan or the scheme. Yeah. To me, Barry, the most important thing is did Monday or Tuesday, of last week, Seth came in and cast a vision. Seth came and gave them confidence. Seth showed them 3 or 4 games of film that says, look, when they're in cover 2, the backers don't sink. Look, when they're in cover 2, the corners don't stay hard. Look, when they're in cover 3, they're going to give you airspace so you can run the curl. Run the curl with confidence. If you get to 13, stick the foot in the ground, expect the ball. That was how we did it. And again, it took the opponent out of the equation. It took names out of the equation. Like, we always felt we were the best players on the field. And here's the beauty of this whole scenario, guys. Seth was there with us. And so this is I know you asked me about receivers. This is a sink or swim week for me with Seth. My teammate, my brother, love him to death. We have conversation and communication offline. He's got to deliver. And as an offensive coordinator, it's not just about rotations. It's not just about, you know what I'm saying? Like mental. It's actually about cultivating an entire environment, a climate, a culture on the offensive side of the ball where those guys walk around with swag. One thing that really hurts my heart And it's weird because you see it on defense, and just 3 years ago you didn't. But now 3 years, 3, 4, 5 years later, from the years where Bacon and even Hurts and those guys, and even Caleb, his freshman year, Caleb brought the ultimate swagger to our offensive side of the ball. I look at our offensive side of the ball and I see a little grit from Hawk, which is a salute.
Yeah.
But I don't see swagger. And Seth was there when we had swag for sure. Okay, FSU, let's go get it. Okay, Nebraska, y'all want something? Let's go get it. Okay, K-State, you want to see us again in Arrowhead? Let's do it. Oh, we planning on your backyard? Texas? Oh, you got these. You don't know how serious we. By the way, Roy Williams never in his career beat OU. You think that was on accident?
Never. Yeah.
BJ Johnson, you think that was on act? You don't
2004.
think we knew that? You don't think we guys, that was personal to us. Chris Sims never beat OU. Never. And so
I want to ask you something real quick. What I've heard this said, and then we'll also get to the super chat. I've heard this said by other Sooners who were on the team that you played with, that you guys in the off season kind of knew what Texas was doing now down there. You knew the mentality that they had. You knew what Mack Brown was deploying, right? The kind of strategy in the off season. And I've heard guys like Teddy bring up that you all just did the dirtier work, and that was a mentality that contributed to the swagger. Elaborate on that, or if you believed that was present during your time, and probably goes to what you were saying a little bit.
Yeah, swag isn't something you get on Saturday. Swag isn't something you get in August. Swag isn't something you get OU Texas week. Swag is February. Swag is weight room in April. Swag is everybody's at Lake Texoma or San Padre, whatever, Oklahoma City kicking it, you know what I'm saying? And you in 108 degrees pushing a sled. When you do that, like when you honestly do that, you have the ultimate faith in you. And as a coach, as a head coach and a coordinator, one of their primary functions is to get you to believe you can do things you can't normally think you can do. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Schmitty was a magician at making us do things that we didn't think we could do. He would push us to our limits, and then the next 2 weeks be like, okay, we're going to do that same thing I did where we pushed you to your limits 2 weeks ago, but we're going to add one. And you're like, bro, I barely made it. When you do that all summer and you have team camaraderie all summer, and you go into fall camp, and guys know that even when times get tough, we're going to be in this together, that creates swagger. Swagger says, I'm playing an opponent, I think, right? There's some thinking there. It's not no. I think we can beat Texas this year, but I know I outworked their ass. I know what they're going to do. I know I watched a bunch of film. I know we're bringing in 3 or 4 concepts that they haven't seen on film. And I know when push comes to shove, I want it more than them. That was our demeanor every year, especially after we lost a game we felt we should have won in 99.
Hell yeah.
When we lost a game we know we had in our back pocket, and we kind of hot dogged it and let them steal the momentum. And then when they got the momentum, we kind of punked out. I ain't gonna lie. We kind of punked out. We weren't ready for that moment. We bottled that up. Got it. Okay. All right. Y'all got one more year. Aaron Humphrey, D.D. Lewis. I remember those guys. Quentin Jammer. I remember those guys, 99. Y'all got one more year.
Let's go, man.
See us the next 5. And so, with that said, man, it's really like I haven't done this, Barry. It's on the coaches. The offensive coaches, we don't have time for them to continue to figure it out. If you said, Mackie, what would be the biggest reason you think we don't win this game? It's because the offense isn't prepared, or the offense hasn't created a customized plan for Texas. we have to be strategic in this game. If we run that damn midline inside zone, if we run those stupid receiver screens where we're just trying to beat them, get 5 yards and block, and then we get a penalty. If I don't know, if we don't run action, if we don't run boot, if we don't run mesh concepts, if we don't run under routes, if we don't get on the edges, if we don't do some misdirection, if we run that damn jet sweep play one, oh my God. Oh my God. If we run a jet sweep the first play of the game, well, Burks is hurt. So we know we're not going to run it because he's not in the slot. So coaching, man. This is a game where I think coaching matters. This is a game where I think Seth is either going to be a Renaissance man, and people say, "Oh, it really was Jackson. He really couldn't run his stuff. Like, that's his stuff. Oh man, that's amazing." Or he's gonna, someone's gonna say, "Hey man, get that man a shovel, start digging." And so, and just in pure honesty, it'll be interesting to see how that part plays out, because that part, like I told folk, I want to win more than I want to see my boy be successful. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be a Sooner to the day I die, and I want the Sooners to be successful more than I want to say, "Hey, Seth's my old fullback and he won as OC." And I think he knows that, and I think he knows that his old teammates know that. It's on him, and we'll see how he handles that.
As somebody asked in the chat, they sent over a super chat. We'll see if we can find it here real quick. And I just wanted to, we're kind of circling back to Andrell Anthony. But this is an interesting question. Who is in charge of rehabbing injuries, the medical staff and the training staff? So I will, so here's how that works on the team. So you have, it's kind of separate and a little compartmentalized, but everybody traditionally will work together. And then I want D-Mac to kind of speak to this from the player side. It is a doctor and surgeon, a lot of times team doctor, or you go to an outside specialist who is somehow a part of OU. I know the guy who did Durant surgeries also did a lot of OU football player surgeries, Durant on his foot stuff back when he had that. So you'd have your outside doctors, your surgeons, who obviously take care of business there. Then on staff, you will typically have a team doctor, right? Somebody who oversees the way the health of the players, the pharmaceutical and the just physiological, like how are they, all of the doctor stuff, right? Then you would have a training staff. These are your athletic trainers. These are the ones bringing water to players, taping ankles, doing stem, doing handling ice, doing all of the more nursing type aspects. OU is a team that they have physical therapists and probably some physical therapist assistants maybe sprinkled in there, or a GA who maybe takes care of that. That's likely how that works. And then on the other side, you would have your strength and conditioning staff, where you'd have your head director of sports performance, which would be Jerry Schmidt. And then you'd have Matthias, who would be below him, who I think is the co-director of sports performance. And then you would build that out with other guys who are under them or GAs. In terms of the rehab, everybody's kind of responsible, right? The doctor and the surgeon, they're responsible for getting it right. Your physical therapist, right? Your doctor who is doing the rehab, executing maybe what the doctor wants to see happen. Your physical therapist is responsible for getting the player ready to start doing the things to get back to the game, right? So your PT is taking the road of, let's get him back to where he was prior, or at least as close as we can. Let's get all the pain gone. And then from there, your athletic trainers might assist in the exercise assignments and the coaching of that. And then once he's ready to go, you pass them over to Jerry Schmidt. And in the meantime, there's a lot of gray area, right, with this DMAC, where you might have, some time with Coach Schmidt and more of the sports performance side, but maybe you're limited on certain exercises. You're limited on what you can do. They only got you doing upper body, or, hey, we're going to stay off of the shoulders. We're only going to do these exercises over here. So it is a group effort when it comes to who is responsible for rehabbing an injury. Because I want Damian to speak to it. It was a little different back then. Obviously, you're going back to 1974, and I'll just play it. But DMAC had the ACL injury, so just speak to that real quick, DMAC, and then we'll kind of round out our thoughts, just in terms of like the strategy you saw deployed. Right.
Yeah, they all work together, hand in hand. Medical is going to be the first say before you're released to do other things, and then as you're dealing with the medical staff's recommendations, which is like in my instance, I had two separate situations. I came to OU with a torn ACL, MCL, PCL, so I had the knee, and it took an entire year to get that together. I just redshirted, so there wasn't an issue about playing it with that deal. And then, of course, my junior year, I had the concussions, and I was having concussions prior to the big one, and so I was dealing with the neurologist and that whole deal. But yeah, it's a medical clearance first. Right? It's a clearance issue with medical and professionals first, and then with that, you are working in conjunction with the training staff. Both of my injuries eliminated the athletic training component for a while. When I came with the bad knee, I did rehab only with training staff for about a month, and then they released me to Dawson. And then when I had the head injury, I did nothing really for a while. They were like, stay in bed, don't go to class.
Yep.
And then I got released to Schmitty, and I would do Stairmaster for a while, and then they let me run for a while, and then just a helmet for a while. So that's all a gradual release, I guess would probably be the best way to approach it. Here's what I want to say as it links to that question, though. There are red flags there are some concerning things happening with the training and medical staff for me right now. When Anderson has an issue that we were never told is season long, and then he hasn't played, that's problematic. When Andrell Anthony, we're told that things are generally working well, and then he hasn't played, that's problematic. When you have guys like Burks, they call it a soft tissue injury, but there's we know soft tissue can mean a bruise or it could mean a ligament. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah. The depth of what soft tissue means, and I don't expect coach to divulge that information. It's not necessary, but the number of injuries at the wide receiver position are alarming to me. And at the very least, there's a case study that needs to happen, and looking at what happened this year, right? Gibson's injury is a freak injury, I believe. Farouk's injury, I believe, is either because of the foot injury he had, or generally when you hurt one, you hurt the other. But the other stuff that's happening, I can't put my thumb around Anderson. I don't know why we don't have Anderson. I can't put my thumb around. I mean, Anthony, I get it. They had to rescope it, but I feel like that's something where months earlier, that's something we should have known. Fall camp is a lot of practicing. And if he was full go in fall camp, then what happened? And if he wasn't full go in fall camp, why didn't he get it scoped earlier so that he could be coming around now? Those are things that just give me reservation and make me wonder, what I'm saying? What's happening in that training room? Is there, I wonder if parents are helicoptering the situation. I wonder if the nil deal and people wanting, I don't know. I actually don't have any like insider information there, but I just think about that and I'm like, things that make you go, because those lingering guys want to play. Listen, let me just tell you one thing, Barry. Football sucks ass if you can't play. This might make me sound selfish. And then maybe I only say this because there was never a year I didn't play. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for giving me the opportunity to play every year that I could play. I don't know, Barry. I don't know if I would have wanted to play if we had to do everything we had to do in the off seasons to have 13 Saturdays to play a game, and I didn't get to play. Like I don't. I always played. I played as a freshman. I played, so I don't, what I'm saying? I would have been a team guy. I'm not a selfish guy, but I'm just saying the sacrifice for football.
Yeah.
It's a lot to play 13 games. If you're a really good team back then, I guess you played 13, 14, 15 now. So, like, I don't believe Anderson's waiting for the league. Nah, buddy doesn't have enough film to wait for the league. I don't believe that. And by the way, Anderson, Anthony, none of those guys, they're not bona fide dudes.
Anderson would get chopped down in the interview rooms. He would get chopped down when it came to the physicals right now. Because he wouldn't be. He needs a full half or a full season.
Yeah, he's got 6 games. That's what he has. He played well for 6 games. He's got a good body, but there's a ton of dudes that have a good body and played good for a couple of years. None of those guys have enough film today to be bona fide. I'm leaving for the league. So I don't believe that concern. More so, I'm looking at what the question poses: the medical staff, the training staff, the athletic staff, the coaching staff, what the parents, the NIL agent, what's the communication happening in that whole dynamic of it and what's being fed to the players, because that's that's abnormal, to say the least.
I have a sneaky suspicion with Andrell that, again, I like what you said, no insider knowledge on this. It's just putting two and two together and knowing the way these things get cleared and how you decide if a guy is ready to go play or not, right? OU uses a lot of metrics, a lot of data. And I wonder if maybe in fall they tapered him down too much. So by the time they got in season where that workload had to increase, where he's getting all of the first team reps or a lot more reps than he was, that by the time he got to the end of fall camp and into the season, he was going through too much pain. Um, Either that, or there was so here's what, if somebody isn't recovering from an injury, there are like only a few things that it could be. One, the procedure was not correct, effective. It was not the right procedure for the right injury. Okay. Number two, you did not fully rehab or commit to the rehab. If you didn't commit to the rehab, meaning following it to a T exactly as instructed, um, and another piece to that is allowing yourself to fully recover before going back and getting into the work. You've got to give yourself ample time. And then the last piece, and this is more contributing to Anderson, is are the exercise selections and that player's plan contributing to his success, or just even the ability to get out onto the field, right? So I got a guy who I'm working with here who's a walk-on at a D1 school who's trying to get on Scully right now somewhere else, and we have a few goals for him. One of them is just to put on some weight for the position he wants to play, but the other piece is his feet. We're trying to really improve the feet. Does Anderson have a strategy for his lower body that is conducive to him remaining on the field? Because it might look different than some of the other guys, and at some point you have to individualize that thing enough so that your guy is ready to play, right? You've got to figure out a way. You got to do the team stuff. That's all good. You've got to have an idea or get Anderson bought in, and it could be on the player side. It could be that Anderson is not fully bought into doing what he
I'm
needs to
tired
do.
of talking about injuries, bro. These
It's
dudes
they
play
got
ball, man. Figure it out. Play ball, man. These injured dudes got to get their health
100%.
together. You gotta get out. We gotta get it together. Listen, I'm just telling you, Barry. It's not fun. Off season is not fun. Summer is not fun. Spring is cool. Spring is cool. Fall camp is not fun. Fall camp is hard as hell. It's hard. The first 10 practices are hard. Last 6 or 7 practices, you're getting into game week. I know for a fact they are not punks. That's a punk, by the way. You're a punk if you're like, I don't want to practice because I'm scared of my bro. No NFL team's gonna want you, dog. We're talking about analytics and data. They're gonna look at the analytics and say the likelihood of a kid who only played XYZ number of snaps, right, and only had XYZ amount of success. What's the likelihood of them being a bust or being successful? The answer is low. The best thing you can do is put a ton of film together showing that you're a dog. That's the best. You see the story about Megatron years ago. By the way, this is years ago. No. But yeah, what was my man's name for the Lions who went to Georgia Tech? What was his name? Megatron, right?
Calvin Johnson. Yeah.
Man, did you see, guys? Calvin Johnson didn't need to prove nothing when he left Georgia Tech. Did you see how hard they pressed him to run his 40? I don't know if you saw the story, but he literally wasn't planning on running it. He got heckled the entire time in Indianapolis. Like, oh, you're not going to run it. You're scared. He literally changed his mind on a whim and ran a 4.3. But my point is, Calvin Johnson did it for years. They were in like some kind of spread option offense. You know, he had a couple years where he had like a spread offense. Then he had a couple years where they ran like a spread option offense. So people were like, is he going to translate? Does it translate? Dude, 6'4", 240. And they're like, I don't know if you got it, bro. I don't know if you got it.
And he had
And
great film too, by the way.
And he had to run his 40. So what the hell makes you think Anthony or Anderson or one of these other guys who, I think Anderson had one touchdown at Michigan. Like, he wasn't a dude. He had potential and was a high ballyhooed recruit. Anderson had 6 games where he was a stud and saved me from having to buy you a steak. Thank you, Jesus. Right? But, these guys, my point is simply put, get healthy, play ball, put up good film, good things will happen. And so, as it relates to OU Texas, those guys aren't playing in the game tomorrow, so I don't want to talk about them too much more.
Heck yeah, man. Specials real quick, and then we're going to switch over to some members only. We'll go over there and do that. If you guys haven't, we're doing the film, and we're going to go a little more inside the Auburn game and maybe talk about some things that OU can do against Texas. Allow Mack to get in there and do the whole film thing, and we'll talk about some of the individual performance stuff. But go over there, grab yourself a membership. Also, hop on to OUinsider.com. All OU team recruiting news. If you want to keep up with what's going on in these upcoming classes, it is the best spot to be. And the game threads are awesome. We're posting post-game thoughts over there. Little inside the game. Very, very detailed player analysis. And then D-Mac's got his 10 thoughts that he will post. D-Mac, specials. Advantage Oklahoma, advantage Texas. I lean towards Oklahoma, both in the punt game, the kicking game, as well as I think the return game might be a wash. That Texas got a pretty good kick returner, and their punt returner is solid. I can't remember his name, but they've looked good in that area. But I think overall, Oklahoma comes in with the advantage. And I think just with how Venables prioritizes special teams in these kinds of games, it feels like an area where OU could make some hay and reap some fruit if the effort and the buy-in is right with these guys. And maybe in this one, does Venables have a trick or two up his sleeve? Does he pull out a little, circa Bob Stoops 2003? Are there some things held back in terms of some trickery that OU might deploy, fake punts, fake field goals, the things where you got to have some gorilla nuts to be able to pull those things off? How do you see the specials going, man?
Yeah, I think we got to win the kicking game. Any opportunity we get past the 30-yard line going in, we got to be able to make a field goal. And anytime we're backed up, we've got to be able to get the ball past midfield and reverse field possession. I do believe, and I think there's a stat that says like the team who wins the turnover margin or scores a touchdown in a respective year on special teams wins like 8 out of 10. So in other words, if we can force a turnover with a block kick or a muff punt or whatever, or we can score on a punt return or a kick return or a block field goal, something like that, that really helps our case. I think again, from the punt and kick space, really, those are like, don't lose the game, right? When you make field goals, it pushes the score forward. When you make a good punt and you flip field position, those help you not lose the game. And then of course the caveat, the carrot, the icing on the cake, I guess we would call it, would be, can we force a turnover or can we create a special teams touchdown with one of our return guys? And if we do that, then I think the odds are really in our favor to be successful. So I think it's a coin flip right now, Barry. It's not like Peyton has shown us that he's extremely dangerous. Thank God he's really good at possessing the ball, and he's got some juice back there. They've got some guys that are also equally as dangerous. It'll be interesting to see how many times we can get into the plus side of the field and make a field goal or score a touchdown, and then how many times we can hold them when we have on third down to force them to punt the football.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Again, just want to shout out OU Insider, OUinsider.com. They make this possible. If you did not catch the live show today or you missed part of it, it's also going to be available on OUinsider.com. We do the live over here on the Barry Mack Show, but we are partnered with them. They help bring exposure for the show. And we're going to switch over to the members only.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Go for it.
How do YouTube people find this? Like, why are YouTube people here? You know what I'm saying? I mean, by the way, Texas fans, love you guys. I have no issue with Texas. We gotta bond together and show the SEC that we gonna come over here and kick tail. But like, it's a lot of UT folk around here. I'm just wondering, you know what I'm saying? Great. Y'all bored? Y'all don't y'all want to hear about don't y'all want to hear about daffodils and rainbows over on y'all
Yeah.
podcast. I heard y'all podcast is kind of trash. Actually, I actually heard there aren't any really good UT podcasts. You guys got to get with your guys and tell them
Only
that.
one that's solid is Steven Nagati's is solid. Now I'm a little biased because I know him. He's like the only Longhorn fan who I heavily get along with. So shout out Steven Nagati, good guy, big Cowboys fan by the way,
Oh
like
God.
massive,
Oh
massive.
God. So
Yeah,
that
you would.
so let me just reiterate here. I've heard that they're all of them are trash. Nah, but hey,
Oh
I
man.
like mixing it up to the Rob dude and some of these other guys who are talking smash. I like it. I got me a natty. I beat the shit out of Texas a few years. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all good. You know what I mean? And mixing it up is healthy. I think that's healthy for you guys to be here. But I literally have heard in a lot of places that there isn't any cool UT podcasts and poor child. You guys can always come hang out with us. It's all good. No problems. But the OU fans, guys, first things first, I want to say this, B. I apologize for interrupting you. But guys, I appreciate the love and sentiments. You know what I'm saying? My father passed away, and it's why I was away for a while. I appreciate you guys' thoughts, your prayers, your condolences, all those things. They matter. I promise you, I appreciate them. And I also want to say that I was surprised when we got in trouble. People have always asked us to bring film to support some of the things we discussed. And the one time we do it, by the way, we had the feedback was phenomenal. Everybody loved the fact that we brought film into our pod. And of course, we got in trouble. And so, anyway, looking for a way to give people the opportunity to see some of the things we see with the X's and O's with actual video footage. And if you guys want to support that, salute, man. I appreciate you guys for doing that as well.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for hopping on today. Go over to the members only section. Just go to our homepage. And when you subscribe to the channel, like and share, and go follow us on social. DMAC is at D_Mac13. Find me at BWise Fitness at letter B, WISE Fitness over there on the pages. When you go do that, just hit the little join button. It's just $2.99. If you're like me, your credit card stuff's probably locked in on Google already. You just and you're good to go. Thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you soon.
Somebody said